Flames engulfed the once mighty Kaga as sailors leapt into burning seas. This is the tragic World War II loss of IJN Kaga at Midway. Before those flames, Kaga stood unmatched, the Empire's floating sword. Steel, discipline, and silence that was Kaga. Born from the wreckage of a cancelled battleship, she rose as one of Japan's first great aircraft carriers. By 1941, her decks thundered with the roar of Mitsubishi Zeros and Nakajima bombers. At Pearl Harbor, those planes struck first and hardest, igniting the Pacific War. To the Imperial Navy, Kaga was more than a ship. She was proof that Japan could rule the seas. Her crew believed it too. Life aboard was strict with drills at dawn that practiced precision at every command and a certainty. Because of that, every man aboard believed the Empire's destiny rode with Kaga, their steel fortress beneath the rising sun. But early victories bred something dangerous, confidence without caution. Commanders believed the enemy was broken, that America would sue for peace. The fleet prepared for one final strike to finish the war, certain of triumph. Engines roared, orders came. Kaga turned east toward Midway, with her crew unaware that destiny had already changed course against them. But while Japan planned the kill, there were eyes already watching every move. The plan was flawless on paper. Admiral Nagumo's strike force, 4 carriers strong, would draw the Americans into a trap near tiny Midway Atoll. Kaga, Akagi, Soryu, and Hiryu formed the spearhead of Japan's naval pride, sailing under a calm blue horizon. Scouts reported no enemy in sight, hence confidence grew. But across the Pacific, inside dim rooms at Pearl Harbor, American codebreakers had cracked Japan's naval cipher. They knew where the carriers were headed, and they knew when they'd arrive. In Tokyo, commanders toasted victory, unaware that every intercepted message had sealed their fleet's fate. Admiral Nimitz didn't just plan to defend Midway. He planned to ambush the ambushers. As Kaga's crew polished aircraft and prayed for clear skies, American pilots on Midway sat in silence waiting beside fueled planes, eyes fixed on the ocean. 2 worlds, one blind and the other ready. The fleets moved closer, unaware of how little luck remained between them. The hunters would become the hunted. As sunrise broke over the Pacific, the battle for Midway truly began. The first American attack came low and slow, torpedo bombers skimming the waves with engines straining. Kaga's lookouts spotted them early, and within minutes her deck exploded into motion. Zeros launched, diving into the oncoming formation. One by one, the American planes fell blazing into the sea. Not a single torpedo found its mark. From Kaga's bridge, cheers could be heard erupting. The crew believed the enemy was broken. The ocean boiled with wreckage, proof, they thought, of Japan's invincibility. Below deck, mechanics hurried to rearm aircraft for a decisive counterstrike. Bombs rolled across hangar floors, fuel hoses hissed, time was everything, but speed came at a cost. With safety checks skipped and hatches left open, Kaga's heart became a maze, riddled with gasoline vapor and armed explosives, a single spark away from catastrophe. Above, the sky cleared and the crew prepared for victory. Then, from above the clouds came the real threat. Rather, silent attack dives. At 10:22 a.m., the sky above Kaga erupted. US Navy SBD Dauntless dive bombers from the USS Enterprise broke through the clouds, dropping almost vertically toward the carrier's deck. For 30 terrifying seconds, it was absolute precision versus vulnerability, as the Pacific decided Kaga's fate. The Japanese fleet had turned to refuel planes, meaning its fighter cover had drawn away, chasing the earlier attacks. This left Kaga exposed and defenseless, and also full of bombs. Commander Richard Best led the strike. From nearly 15,000 feet, he aimed straight for Kaga's rising deck. The first bomb hit near the island structure, tearing through the flight deck and detonating deep inside. The second struck the hangar, where fuel lines and armed aircraft turned the blast into a firestorm. Within seconds, flames devoured the ship. Explosions rolled through the corridors as ammunition and aviation fuel ignited together. Crewmen screamed orders, lost in smoke and chaos. Some jumped overboard, others fought through blinding heat, trapped below with no escape. The mighty Kaga was now breaking apart from within. The fleet was now an inferno, and Kaga's true hell was inside. The first minutes after impact were chaos. Damage control teams sprinted through smoke-choked corridors, dragging hoses that melted in their hands, and then fire roared through ruptured fuel lines, igniting the stored munitions one by one. In the face of the fire, discipline dissolved into mere instinct, and men no longer followed orders, only the desperate pull of survival. The heat grew unbearable as steel literally warped and decks buckled, while the air turned into pure poison. The igniting ammunition began to cook off below deck, and each detonation started tearing new holes through the carrier's body. Meanwhile, officers barked orders that vanished under explosions. Men were stumbling through the darkness as their faces blackened, searching for any path that led them to daylight. Some even jumped overboard, uniforms aflame, while others refused to abandon their posts, clinging to duty even as the decks collapsed beneath them. On the bridge, Captain Jisaku Okada surveyed the burning ruin that had been Japan's pride. His officers begged for permission to leave, but he hesitated. Honor demanded he stay. When the flames reached the command tower, he gave his final salute. The sea turned orange with fire, fire that climbed higher and higher still. And the flames left no hope. Only one final order remained. By noon, Kaga was beyond saving. The fires had reached her magazines, and explosions echoed from deep within the hull. Captain Okada, his uniform scorched and his bridge collapsing around him, made the only decision left. He ordered the crew to abandon ship, and the destroyer, Hagikaze, to scuttle her with torpedoes. Men leaped into the sea, having with their faces blistered from the heat, clinging to debris as burning oil spread across the water. Around the dying carrier, the Pacific shimmered red, a silent witness to honor and loss. The Hagikaze's torpedo struck home, and a final explosion tore through Kaga's heart. Within minutes, the great carrier slipped beneath the waves, with her flag still flying. More than 800 sailors were gone. Those rescued floated in stunned silence, staring blankly at the black smoke curling into the sky. Across the Japanese fleet, radios stayed silent as no one dared report what had happened. The once invincible First Air Fleet had lost its strength and its illusion of control. Midway had more than just sunken ships. It shattered an empire's illusion too. But Kaga's death was only part of a far greater collapse. By nightfall on June 4th, 1942, Japan's carrier force lay in ruins. Akagi, Soryu, Hiryu, and Kaga, 4 of the 6 that struck Pearl Harbor, were now gone. This was the heart of the Imperial Navy, had been destroyed in a single day. Midway was no longer a battle. It was a turning point in history. In the months that followed, Japan's naval power never fully recovered. For the survivors, survival itself was its own burden. Some spoke decades later of the screams, the heat, the helplessness of watching comrades vanish beneath the waves. Others never spoke at all, their silence heavier than memory. In 2019, explorers found Kaga's wreck over 5,000 meters below the surface. Her hull lay torn but recognizable, like a tomb of steel and silence. Cameras drifted past shattered decks where men once fought, revealing the final resting place of the pride of Japan's navy. Time has buried the war, but the ocean still remembers.